years and 11 months because he kept contributing, okay? So when you look at this stuff, you're like, okay, well, here's what we got going on. How about this 27-year-old kid making 25 grand a year, part-time job, and has no drive? He's bored out of his mind. You either need an enemy, you need a vision, you need somebody to tell you can't do something, you need to put yourself in a position where somebody slaps you around that pisses you off, and you wake up and you're like, wait a minute, what did you say? I'm going to go out there and go to work and show you that I'm going to do something different in my life. But that 25-year-old is bored out of their minds. Quite frankly, many times there's nothing you can do about it. It has to come internal. Look, life is a test. You're being tested. I don't know how you're being tested right now, but somehow you're being tested. It could be personal, it could be family, it could be finance, it could be ego, it could be desires, it could be a vice. No one knows, but you're being tested. I'm being tested. She's being tested. He's being tested. There's not a person right now that's not being tested right. Some of us don't pass the test. Who controls that? You. That's not on you and I. So that 25-year-old, that 27-year-old is being tested today. And he's failing today because he has no desire to go out there and do something. He has to figure out a way to self-motivate himself right now. There's nothing you and I can do. At the end of the day, the individual has to want to help himself. You can't make miracles. I can bring Tony Robbins, Joel Osteen, bring the biggest, Eric, bring the biggest motivational speakers in the room. Put them in a room of 1,000 people, and you're still going to have 80% of people that are going to do nothing to make it better. Numbers are numbers. That person's got to want it themselves. There's nothing you can do about it.
Man, so the first time I met you, I remember you came in the room, and there was an energy shift in the room when you walked into the room. And only way I could describe it is like this dragon energy. It was like this powerful being. And the more I began to read and to learn, it's a sense of this masculine energy that you exude. And one of the things that I was reading about is this masculine energy is this initiative, it's this drive, it's this passion. And you can just feel it when somebody walks in the room, to which I believe you said, like, part of your family crest is a lion. Did you communicate that? And that's what it embodies, right? This fierce, ferocious competitor, go-getter. And you're 100% right. For a lot of these young men, they don't have that in them. You know, they don't have it in them. And so, I know you said it's something that we can do about it, right?
Постав біля мойки, не став у мойку внутрі. І оце куска хліба не дам, поки чорний не з'їму. Бо він і дорогий, і хороший. Коржика їжте, вкусний, тут багато яблук. Дуже вкусний.
And I put him on stage. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who I was in the army?
Nie.
I ended up bringing my sister into the business.
Це единичні сопля.
They do a great job. They're one of the vice presidents of the company.
От гарячого супу.
And I told everybody, go ask my sister anything you want to ask about how I was. And I said, Paulette, say whatever you want to say. I'm good. And she would say, Pat was lazy, Pat was this. I'm totally fine. I'm okay. Then I brought another friend who from the military, and people would ask him the questions. Hey, how was Pat? How was this? How was that? I don't have any problems with that. Then I went and called, one of my friends called me one time, I'll never forget, his name is Adrian. And he said, hey, can we go out to lunch? And we went out to lunch. This was even 12 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, maybe even before, like I was online anything. And he says, Pat, can I tell you something? I said, yeah. At the time, I'm probably making $250,000 to $500,000 from him and I were having this conversation in my late 20s. He says, I'm going to tell you something that most of your friends are not going to tell you. So what's that, Adrian? He says, Pat, I never thought you were going to make it. I'm not one of these guys that's going to tell you, I know Pat was going to make it. He says, Pat, I never thought you were going to make it. I never thought you would do anything with your life. When you went into the army, I thought that was it. Like, you're going to go make 38 grand, 40 grand, and that's it. Wow. He says, I am shocked at who you became. Okay, perfect. So now flip it. You asked me the question with this 25-year-old. I'm telling you, I didn't have any fire. I didn't have any fire. One day, I'm at UCLA Medical Center in LA. My dad has a heart attack. You've heard me tell this story before. My dad has a heart attack. And you know, my dad is like my dad's. At this time, I'm partying 5-6 days a week. I'm in Vegas every other weekend. So I go to the hospital and I see him. And I see him laying in bed, and the nurse, he's calling the nurse, not showing up. The nurse gave him a little bit of an attitude, and that's when I lost it. I'm calling out the nurse, just acting fully irresponsible at the hospital. My dad is panicking. Patrick, please calm down. Please calm down. And he just had a heart attack. Just foolish. Absolutely. There's nothing about my behavior that was acceptable, except the fact that I wanted my dad to get better service, right? So eventually they kicked me out. I get kicked out of the hospital. I can't go visit my dad. They kick me out of the hospital, and you know, I get on my car, Ford Focus. sit there and I cry for 30 straight minutes. Okay? The next day, I told my friends, never ever call me again to go to clubs. Come on, man, what are you talking about? I said, don't ever call me again. I'm not going. You're not going to see me at the clubs anymore. I'm not going to party with you. I'm not going to go to clubs with you. Pat, you're out of your mind. There's no way in the world. You can't stop. We all know who you are. Because I was great at partying inside. You will never stop. I said, okay. I'm just telling you. Don't call me anymore. So they started calling. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. Guess what happened? Never went to the clubs ever again. That night decision was made. The old cat died. Killed the old cat. Give you another part of this story here. One day, I'm sitting there, I'm like, why do I drink? I don't know why I drink. I'm done with alcohol. I dropped alcohol. I stopped drinking. And this is coming from a guy that every weekend in the army would drink 2 bottles of would drive from Kentucky all the way up to Nashville, Tennessee. Mixed factory connections, Silverados, all this stuff. And by the time we got there, we're hammered. If you see most of my military pictures in Nashville, if there's any military picture you see out of my album in Nashville, I am hammered. And you'll see it on the look on my face. To all of a sudden saying, dude, I'm done. Okay? And to me saying, no sex for 17 months until I make my money. I made some drastic decisions. Who can't do that? They can do that. You control the choice. See, the reason why capitalism is a beautiful thing is because of 4 things. You have the freedom to buy whatever you want to buy that's legal. You have the freedom to sell whatever you want to sell that's legal. You have the freedom to try whatever you want. You don't want to do real estate? Try insurance. You don't want to do
Шко сам ти кажеш,
Go try YouTube.
Согласен, Ліна, согласен.
задовбав.
Freedom. We don't give enough credit. The reason why certain people in the world are respected at mine at the level that they are is because so many people fail. Because when the pressure hits, most people leave the arena. We all root for the people in the arena and we criticize them. What we don't recognize is the fact that whoever is in the arena getting their asses handed to them, at least they had the courage to get in the arena. They're not fans on the outside. They're in the arena fighting. Those are the people we admire. So these young guys that you're talking about, Pat, you know, a lot of people don't have the drive. I wish you knew me in my early 20s. You would have had more confidence in people being able to shift because I had to choose. One thing happened, next thing, I'm a whole different person.
Why should you invest in stocks on eToro?
With eToro, I can invest in global and local stocks with 0 commission.
eToro also lets you train risk.
It is true. As of 11 weeks ago, I decided to move myself, my family, my 2 dogs, as well as Vitamin, off to Florida, specifically South Florida. And today I'm going to answer to you why, out of all the places I could have gone to, I could have gone to North Dakota, I could have gone to Wyoming, I could have gone to the great state of Montana. Why Florida? We're going to talk about it today. So I got to give you the backstory before I tell you why I moved to Florida. So I'm like a gypsy. My dad calls me a gypsy because in Armenian they say "Titi cheskaron nestes," meaning you can't sit still in one place. I lived 10 years in Iran. I lived 18 months in Germany at a refugee camp. I lived 6 years in Glendale, California. Then I lived 9 months in South Carolina, Columbia. Then I lived in Kentucky, Tennessee for a couple of years. Back to LA for 21 years. Dallas for 5 years. And now South Florida for the last 11 weeks. So why did I go from specifically California to Texas to Florida? So let's talk about the move from California to Texas. When I left California, I wrote a love letter to California.
is matching drawing.
Imagine a world where your greatest fears become reality. 3 contestants, 3 terror-inducing challenges, $1 million. Welcome to Fear Factor. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fear Factor in 2021. I'm your host, John Christ. We couldn't afford Joe Rogan this year because he's making too much money filming an audio podcast in his basement, which is honestly a sentence I never thought I'd hear myself say, but this is a cable television show, and we have no new original ideas, at least in the last 20 years, which is why we're rebooting a show from 2001. Let's meet the contestants. Contestants, welcome to Fear Factor in 2021. If you've seen our show in the past, you know that a lot of our stunts have involved cars. Unfortunately, because of what cars do to the environment, we are no longer allowed to use automobiles in the show. Also, PETA has been involved recently, and animals have been canceled from the show. And lastly, a lot of our activities do involve physical stunts, and to put you guys together competitively would be discriminatory and ableist. So unfortunately, physical activities will be canceled as well, but I promise you, this season of Fear Factor will be by far the most fear-inducing of them all. Welcome aboard, sir. How you doing?
Good to be here. Just nervous and excited for the challenge.
Voiceover actor from Los Angeles.